Yes, that's it.
Boy, geweld. Dat is schön, dat het.
It's an 8 Shvat on tonight. Half day Shvat.
But tonight is coffee spot? Oh yeah. So when are they making for bringing upstairs or anywhere? Yeah. Tonight is really coffee spot.
Tonight at 10 o'clock they're making a little farbrengen for the...
Yeah, for the boy from Brazil, yeah, for Danya. Yeah, very sweet boy. Right. The Shachat Ishmael, Shmini Atzeres, Tov Reish, Ayin Dalet. Now this all been finished, right? So we have to say this is Leil Kof Beis Shvat, Toshin Samach Ches, Ayin Beis Chelik Aleph, Omid Tov Kof Ches, beginning of the Maimah Dibur Amasko Bayim Shmini Atzeres. The Shachat Ishmael Shmini Atzeres Tov Reish Ayin Dalet. Bayim Hashmini Atzeres Tiyah. At the end of the 7 days of Sukkot, so then the pasuk is Koveya that on the Yom HaShmini it should be an Atzeres Lochem. The Isa b'Medrash Rabbah, but Rashi brings it down, that Moshe Lamelech she'oso mishte zayin yomim. Moshe, to a king that he made a party, how do you call it, a celebration, 7 days. Hizmin Esko B'nei Hamedina. Invited all the populace, all the subjects in the whole Medina. Bayem Hashmini Omer li Oyhavei. He said to his close friend, Fayotzanu Yedei Chayvaseinu Lebnei Hamedina. We ought to be Yetzer for all the populace and all the subjects. Boy v'negalgo ani v'ato b'meshenimto. Let's, you and I, kilo dreizach chalub, how do you call it, mizalzach valgeren. Yeah, that's how you say in Yiddish. In other words, we should make a sort of a ganz chassidish of b'rengen, ani v'ato b'meshenimto, whatever we will find, whatever remains, as it were, from the whole flawless pomp and splendor of the ganze Mishte, whatever we'll find, that will be enough. In other words, we won't need kamus, nor the we'll have all the eiches just being together, anivi ve'ato, and the boy v'negalgel, that also indicates the meaning of informal intimacy, we'll just be together, and therefore we won't need all the normal facilities of a mishte. Whatever we'll find. Kachom HaKadosh Baruch Hu Yisrael, Boyu v'negal go ani v'atem, and Meshe, Timto, whatever will happen to it, be, whatever will remain over after the whole Zayin Yemei Sukkos. You know, it's not so much the kamus anymore, but just the fact that we'll be together, the both of us, and we'll be galgul ani v'atem. And therefore, par echod v'al echod. Therefore, that's all that was kilo benimta is par echod v'al echod. And that's the union, like it's brought down in the Medrash of echod. V'keneged Yisrael. The echod is keneged the Eibishter, and echod keneged also echod keneged Yisrael. Par echod v'al echod. Tzadik lahomin. Mahuinin the Bezayin Yemei Achag He Kruva Ayin Porim. In the 7 days of Sukkot, then they brought Shivim Porim. If we take the number, it began with 13, it goes all the way down to the Sachakol is Ayin Porim. Sheneged Ayin Sorim. That's connected the short Shurish, the Umusailam Harayan, the Malachim, Yayinim, the Ayin Sorim. Like we saw, the Rebbe wrote down that in the Siyum of the previous Maimon, that the Ayin Porim, B'Chag HaSukkos, that's the Bureau of the Ayin Sorim, the Noiga. In other words, the Bureau of the Shurish, the whole union of the Umis Harayah in the Ayin Sorim of the Inin of the Noiga. Even though the truth of the matter is that the Shurish of the Umis Ha'ilam is even lower than that. The Ayin Sorim are only a Shurish for them in a Dwega Gavoya Yisov, due to their Nafila, then they're even shot to the Gimel Klippus Atameas, like that Torah brings in Tanya. But we'll soon see something that will help us appreciate that whole even as we go along. So that's what already mentioned in the Siyum of the previous Maimah, that the Shivim Porim were connected to the Shurish of the Umas, the Ayin Sorim. Shmini Atzeres, Rak Pa Echad V'Ayel Echad, who Rakli is Yisrael. In other words, it's only one Par and one Ayil, and it's only Shat Yidin. It doesn't have any shaykhs anymore to all the other Umas, only to Yidin. Like it's put down that the Ayil Echad is connected to Yisrael. Am Goy Echad Ba'oret, and if an Echad is also Shat to the Eibishter, what he's Hashem Echad V'chulu. Gam tzorich lahavin mahu in Shmini Atzeres. Ma she'omer Shmini Atzeres hachag hazeh. Mipnei ma nikro Shmini Atzeres. So in other words, that if it's going to be that Shmini Atzeres is a chag hazeh, but that tends to imply that it's a chag in its own right. Then why is it called Shmini Atzeres? Well, that tends to link it with chag HaSukkos. In other words, that if it's a chag hazeh, meaning it's a chag in its own right, then what's the union of Dafki comes between the Shmini L'Shiva Shemei HaSukkos. So that tends to indicate that it's a Madrega Bifnei Atzmei, but L'Idoch it's a Shmini and I emshek to the union of Sukkos. So therefore, why is it called Dafki? The name given to it is Dafki Shmini, what that indicates the kesher with chag HaSukkos. Gam Loma Oz Dafki Nikva Zman Simchas Torah Al Haluchos Shenitnu B'Yom Kippurim. It's well known that the Luchos Shniyos, Moshe Rabbeinu brought them down L'Mocharos Yom Kippurim, and the day that the Luchos Shniyos were actually given to Moshe Rabbeinu per se, but that was Mamish Yom Kippurim. So it comes to this that the Luchos Shniyos are be'etzem shayach to Yom Kippurim, to the Kapora, and to the Slichas Aveinus V'chulu on Yom Kippurim. Why do we make Simchas Torah Dafki several days later at the end of Chag HaSukkos and Dafki B'Shmini Atzeres? But there's another deal, because sometimes we ask the Shaila in Chassidus, why don't we make Simchas Torah B'Chag HaShavuos? Here the deal tends to be more, why don't we make Simchas Torah B'Hechsher L'Yom Kippurim? So you can't very well make a mitzvah Simcha on Yom Kippurim Atzmei, because Yom Kippurim is a Yom from Slichas Aveinis and Tshuva, Fila, Tainis, with the Tzom, with the ganze Inner, but Al Chaponim L'Mocharos Yom Kippurim. Miyad, when Moshe Rabbeinu brought down the Luchos, then should be the Inner from Simchas Torah. Why do we wait Dafki till the end of Shiva Shemei Chag and Dafki on a day called Shmini Atzeres? So then we make the Simcha with the Torah, but the Ike is in the giving of the Luchos HaShniyos, with their Shleimus and the Tikkun of the whole Inyan of the Chet HaEgel and the ganze Riches, they're the fine avory of the Eibishter's Piyus and his reunification, the Jewish people. Why do we have to wait until the end of Chag HaSukkos before making Simchas HaTorah, what they're shaykhs to the Luchos, or that's shaykh to the Luchos HaShniyah? Well, the Hovin calls there, Yesh Lahaktim Ashen is Bur Liyil, the Yud Aleph Samamone Hakteres, Ein Bira Hayud Aleph Kisorin de Misah Abusa. We saw that there were 11 Samamonim in the Ketores, and we saw that they were connected what we call the Yud Aleph browns, which are the Yud of Kesorin of Tumah, Misabus is Tumah. And we saw that really there were Esa spheres in Tumah, just like in Kedusha, or they're called Achad Srei, because their Ikir Chayas is moved mehem. Not that they're Makabel, they're Chayas, but they're Bitl, or they're Iskashas, Visachtas, with the Chayas, or the Chayas is aimed by even Shalav Dola mehem, Lagamri, and Maki Falehem. But that's a Maki Falehem Zakur, we saw all Arichas in the previous Maima, and in the previous Shiurim. And therefore, since it's an Indian of lack of Bitl, and that the highest Pnimi, which is Nimsha to them, Nitzot, the highest Pnimi is Begolus Lagamre, and the Indian of the highest which actually keeps them is Be'oiv Maki Falehem, Beli, Shum, Ischaru, or to use the Lashon we used in the previous Maimah, Ischalavus, without any mixture together in the Makabel, and therefore they're called Yud Aleph. In other words, there's only Esem Mehem, but they're called Yud Aleph because they're highest, which is the Makif, is moved to Mehem Lagamre. Therefore it's counted as a separate Indian, the Gabi, the Makabli Mimeno. The Kedusha Hamispo hu Esa Davke v'loi Teisha v'loi Achadatzah. Mipnei shebekedusha ha'oyer des Asfilis Mishyachid b'yichud gomo imakel. We learned Parichas in the previous Oisias. That the whole meaning from Kedusha, Davke the Milas HaBitl on the part of the Kalim and the Makablim Shebekolo Elam, as what they shite to the like the Alter brings in Tanya. He writes in Perek Vov and in Perek Yutes, and also in Perek Kof Beis. He writes over there that the Kli to Inyan HaOyer, the Kli to the Inyan from Shef Eloki is Bitl Davke. Therefore he says that the whole Inyan from Tzad Kedusha, as he calls it, is only Masha Bottle Elov Yisborach Ayin Ayin Seif Sheira Ela Al Masha Bottle Elov Betachlis. They bring to it in Perek Vov and in Perek Yutes or Delosh. It's a similar Indian in Perek Kof Beis. And therefore, the whole Indian of Kedusha, he say Indian Habitl to the Ayin Seif, and therefore the Kalim and the Makablim, they are B'yichud Goma with the Eiris, even though the Oyer is Ein Arech L'mayla mean in a Kalim, or Mitzad their Beatles, so they become Kalim L'kabel with Oyer, there's Meshachet im Oyer. It's the Tzad Kedusha. We said, Mashen Kim B'sitra Achra, Ein Hektish Misarev Imachel, the Hektish or Koidesh, but the Indian of Kedusha is not able to mix Klau with the Indian of that which is Heipach HaKedusha, the Ainu Choyel, and we saw that Choyel is the Indian from Yeshes, and the Indian which is Deiche, the whole Indian Abitl, the whole Indian is Karvis Ela Oyer, and we saw that was the whole Indian of Sitra Achra, was Davke the Heragish Atzme, the Yeshes Atzme, V'chulu. That's Moneya, the Indian of Hisarvis, the Era Kedusha with the Makabel, with the Indian, therefore it's called Choyel, because Choyel is indicative, the Indian from Chulin, even, we say, Lamata Mizeh. And therefore, he says that's the Indian of the highest standing in the Raven van Havdalah, Rak Uimed, between us Maki. And therefore the highest itself is Nechshav B'fnei Atzmei. Al Kain Hein Mispa Yud Aleph, even though they're not Mispa Yud Aleph, there's only Yes Sfiras Dor Techer. But they're called Yud Aleph Mitzad the Havdalah of the highest Amachayo Yisrael. Mitzad the Havdalah, it's Kila, the highest is Nechshav B'fnei Atzmei, and that's a Inyan from Mispa, and a Kilo, an entity which can be counted, Mamish B'fnei Atzmei, even though it's only a initial Chay. That's the Union of the Yud Aleph Samamone Keteros. So that's where we're holding the safe, the previous Maimon, the previous Drush. Behina, you said the Rebbe Beis Chayim, Shah Klippus Neiger Per Gimel, Isa, it's written over there in the Eitz Chaim, the Yud Aleph Samamone Keteros, Hein Biru Atoiv Shel Noiga. Niwa, Anayin. Even though it was mashma in what we were saying, Ad Koi, that the Pira of the Yudal of Salmone Aketeres, and we were saying that was the union of the Echem Torres Aketeres, I'm sorry, the Yudal Salmone Ariuma there, the Yudal Salmone the Misabusa, that was Ali De Keteres, or that was Mashma, the were Mavara, the Echem meaning of that Makif, that Echem Makif, Ali De, what that's Koral. In a kedusha, but maybe they become mispatel, and maybe even certain aspects of the shad to be oiler in kedusha, and particularly the way maramas at the in a keteres are very high madragans connected with the in of tshuva, and that's what he mentioned. The particular keteres of Yom Kippurim, even though we haven't spoken about that for detail, bariches, or we've already been maramas. That there's a inen in the keteres which is shayach mamish to tshuva iloah. That's shayach to be mavarer even the makifim the liyumas there, and bring them into the inen bitloch upon him to the inen kedusha. Like we see Ayin is in Perek Zayin in Tanya, we see that the baldu amiti alidei tshuva miyum kedaliba, like he brings out even more than that with the inen from eretz tzia v'oyev. Then he's able to be mavara the chayes of the fellow from the Gimel Klippus Tamei. Oisa Ha'inyan with the keteres of Yom Kippur auch upon him. That's poil a bira in the etzeminen of the Yudal of Salmon Erter. And here from the Eitz Chaim it's mashma that the Pa'ula are the keteres in the Beis Hamikdash, in the Seder Hayom Yom of the Beis Hamikdash. And when we get to the Yin Yom Kippur, then we'll be machalik od yoter. The tshuva Yom Kippurim can maybe be impoiled od yoter, we say. But we have to say that the diuk here is in the comparison. We're going to see that the whole ois here compares the avodah the keteres with the other avodas which were b'yom yom in the Beis Hamikdash. So therefore we have to say that this is the seder which you might call hayom yomi, the avodah in the Beis Hamikdash and in the Mishkan, and the Eitz Chaim says it be inyan zeh in the Seder, as you might call Tmidi or Rogil or the inyan HaKeteres, then it's a birur in the inyan from it's Mavara the Toiv Shel Anoiga. In other words, it's Male the meaning from Toiv Shel Anoiga. So if he's there, it's going to ask us the obvious question: Im Kain, was it the Ma'ila Miyuchedes of the Keteres? Because that Indian that were Mavara, the Indian from Klippus Noiga, were Ma'ila the Toi, into Kedusha, that's there in the Korbanos and in the Inyanim Asuyim, Ba'mishkin, Ba'migdosh, on the base, on the Mizbeach HaChitzai. Ve'ila the Keteres, the Dafki the Mizbeach Apnimi, and it's a Ma'ila Niflo, as we're about to see here. It was, if we say that the Keteres is only Mavara the Toiv Sheba Klippus Noiga, l'chera ma Ha'mayla Sheba Keteres l'gabi the Korbanos, l'chera it's a called Oisa Ha'inyan. In other words, the Lashon in that Eitz Chaim tends to turn down the volume on the Keteres and bring it to a more what you might call erech, dike comparison to the other avodas, and that's exactly the kasha that he asked now. Barifus, the Rebbe. But Chodik Lahovin v'Halal Korbanos same gam came biruri anoiga as well now. Da behema hagashmi he miklippus noiga. Stama behema is miklippus noiga. Umakrivin oiso ala mizbeach. The whole inyan of the Korbanos is is karvis or the hakrova. Oh, the behema al gabi mizbeach. V'nikleres be'ei shel Maila, and she becomes niklal. Yes, well known that there was the Arya da'achil korbanin in the Beis Hamikdash, in the Mikdash also, in the Mishkan also, even though there's a Pelitic lesson of the Alter Rebbe, which said Bisman Moshe Rabbeinu there was, Moshe Rabbeinu didn't want any Aryas, he didn't want any Notoyim, and he wanted it should be directly from no Maila. Oh, special piece in the Kutatera, Peliot. It seems to be says even what Rashi says one or two places. Upon him as they bring to the Alter Rebbe, Moshe Rabbeinu didn't want any Mamotoim. He didn't want any Arya. He wanted it should be in his Mishkan. He wanted it should be also even direct. What's your opinion here, my boy?
I need to get this stuff into the room.
What?
Really quickly get this stuff out of here.
I'm sorry?
Yeah, the things with the rings.
Well, you don't mean if I bring it now. If I bring it, it's only 10 o'clock.
So you come.
You're coming after Shiv here, right? Okay? Go here slapping off, bringing in those hotels, that'll be in the Shia, there won't be in the Shia. Yes, man, it's a small for bringing anyway, it doesn't sound a Chona de Rabo, you know, a Chona Rabosi is. Anyway, so, the Rebbe says that that's the whole union of a korban, that the behemoth miklipas naiga, and there's the Eish Shalamayla, the area the Ochel korbanin, and that's Nichlal Ba'esh Shalamayla. In other words, the Eish came down by Miyuchad. Afpische Yesh Mitzvah Gam Yesh Min Ahed, the Ike Bira in the Korban Zalidei Eish Shalamayla. Shazau Bira Atoiv Shabo, or that's the Bira of the Toiv. Yeah, the Eish Shalamayla burnt the Korban, it drew out of it, might call the Korban. It drew out the Inyonim that could be oiler in the Eish Kedusha, and they could be oiler Klape Maila. What is that? That's in even Toiv Shaba Benega, because the Rashi Benega has to be Lechera Nidche, or upon him Chelik Mimeno has to be Nidche Lechutz. And therefore, the Eish Shalamayla, that was Poil the Bira in the Toiv, Venisha Racha Eifer Shehu Ha'etem. And there was Nisha, only the Eifer, what that's the Etzem of the Etzem of the Korban, the Etzem of the Bahima, al Chapani. So I said to Shaila, Ma Bayim Zeh, what's killed the Kavanah of that Lashon, that the Eish or Maila, or that was Mavara the Toiv in the Bahima, and the Etzem was the Eifer Shanisha. My enough community was a kilo Mazim Mosif Lano Beinian there. What do we mean by calling the Eifer the Etzem? So I mean, you know, when I get to the Abi Yisaydas, the Alter Rebbe Mavadot in the Gersa Kodesh, in Achanami, the cure, the Ika Atzmi of the Abi Yisaydas is the sort of Eifer, or the sort of offer that remains in the Eifer. Kilomainach Kimina Khan was it the name of the Rebbe writes it here. We'll deal with that in a second. The Ika HaKorban, Ika, the Ika of a Korban, as well known, Al Pi Alochan, Al Pi Din, the Korban is not a Korban, Ad Shenizracha Adam. Leachra is Rikas Adam, then the Ika of the Korban's already been achieved. And after that, it's Mutta, so Ninyanim V'chulu, because the Ika Korban has already occurred. And so he said, the Ika Korban, who's Rikas Adam. Shezo Achayas Pnimi Shenizrak V'nichlal B'kedusha. In other words, that Eish, which is Nichal in the Eish or Maila, then that's more Ayin by state, Ayin for Makifim, or Ayin Benegel Sherosh Bahima, and there is Karvis in the Eish Shalomaila. But the Chayas Pnimi, the Noiga, which is Shaita, the Etzem Chayas, in the Kli, in the Keli, in the Eivrea Bahima, or that's also oile into the Inyan Kedusha, alidei the Zrika alamis Beis. Amamir, that's all the Inyan of Biro Inkai. Then the Bahima is also Ike Inyan, is the Biro Anoiga. So wasn't there anybody, I mean, not really negate to Etzem Hemshech, or the Biro Hamaima, but the Alcheno is to be Mason Lev. Kamashe Efshel Prote Ainyonim is Nishel Ashel was a Terinisha Eifa Hua Etzem. As the Alter Rebbe Mavai, if you remember the Alter Rebbe in Siddur, the famous Maimah at the beginning of the Korbanos over there, which is called Inyan, Lahovin Inyan Truma Sadeshen. Also there's Inyan from Truma Sadeshen, what the Deshen is the Eifa, that's the Eifa that's left over on the spare from the Korbanos. And there was two Inyonim in Truma Sadeshen. But there was one Inyan that a certain amount of the Deshen was taken and left Al Tzadei HaMizbeach. It was put down alongside the Mizbeach, and it was put down, and that was Nivla Ba'oret, Nivla Ba'Mizbeach Atzmei, Al Yad HaMizbeach. And then there was a so-called tapur that he used to just push dashing aside and would build up into some sort of almost apple-shaped pile, and then the Kohen would every day would take a certain amount of that, and he would be moitzi el chutzla machaneh, and he had to change his begodim, this was otherwise begodim achidim v'hoitzi sadeshnel mechutzla machaneh. We see that it was a deshen, but that's seen in ha'efa, as he brings over it. He brings the word efa is Ayin from Aleph Por. In other words, Por is the Ayin from the Bahema, and Aleph is the Ayin from a higher Madrega, and that's the Ayin of offer, or the sort of offer of the Korbanos. Part of that was able to be Nivla, and part of it had to be taken like Amri Mechutz L'Machna. So what appears over there is that the Ikka of Bahemas in general is the Ayin from Gvulis. That's the Ikka. Their chayzes from Toihu, Nishmas Ha'odam is Mi'olam Atikon already. But the chayzes is in the Bahemas, that's from the Zayin Malkin Kadmon Shenoflo, the Shviras HaKelim. There's a very interesting diuk over there in that mine. There's a Yesho Indim out there. They kind of mock him, Lechikonis Lazer, Alachas Kamal Kamal Hari, that over there he calls the Inya from Olam Atoy or Olam Akudi, the whole way through the mine. Almost without stop, all the way through the mine, so it's not just a misprinted one. It's under a sort of diuk, it's all the way through the mine. He says that Olam Atoy is Olam Akudi, a very interesting thing. Normally we say that Olam Atoy is Olam Anikudi. So I just bring you how's the famous Lashon that the Rebbe brings in many of the Sikhs, Tein L'chacham v'yecham. You can leave it for the wise person, and he'll make a lot out of it. So that's what I'm doing at this moment. However, he says that the klolos Behemas, they're the Inim from Toyu, and they're the Inim from Gvuras, because the Oira is the Toyu, Inim from the Stalkers, where it's Inim Gvura. And therefore, Ikea, Behemas, we see that they're Balik Gvuras, and they're not Newton, Oiras Bekelen Kokach. They tend to be, Alchoponim, Buragoyim, Mesuyomim, that becomes very Mishkalabahim. As so far, the Ikea of Behemas is the Gvuras. How be Neufel, Bishos Akelim, the Toyu, therefore, the Eifa, which remains over, is like the Psulis HaGvuris. Kamasha Efsha went up in the Eish. Talk about it written here. But that was like the Gvuris had a shot to Noiga Stam, Toyu Shebanoiga, or that goes up in the Eish, and Eish, Oichla Eish, and it's all different Madregas in Eish, and the Zrichas Hadam, the Dam is also in the Shugvuris. And Nocher remains the Inan Ha-Eifa, and that's the Etzim Minyan of Pselos HaGvuris, because that's only the Inan that couldn't go up in the Eish, and couldn't go in Zrichas Hadam. And he said, but even there's a part that can still be saved. You can still save the Gvuris HaKoshes. He brings over there, Alidei, the beetle of the Odom, Refat, had he called Becheshban HaNefesh, and what had he called the Odom gets tough with himself. He doesn't just, treat himself as a little spoiled, is the expression, but he gets to work on himself. Then he can still save even some of those Gvuris Koshis, and they were Nivla Bim Kaimon means that they sunk in, at least into the Mizbeach. The Mizbeach is the Infam Malchus, the Kedusha, they didn't have an Aliyah, Gedela, as if, but they still were, as you might call it. And then there has to be the rest, which is, Hoitia, Kohen El Michutz L'Machaneh, well, that's the from Pselos HaGvuris L'Gamrei. They have to go up Michutz L'Machaneh, and their Biru will only be Liosid, or Alidei, Tshuva Gedel, maybe we'll see other forms of high Madregas in Tshuva, V'chuliva, that's what the Rebbe means, that the Etzem, or the Behemas Gvuris, that's Etzem Minyonai, Etzem Chiyusa is for the Gvuris, the Toyu. What's Shat to Toiv, the Noiga, that can have an Aliyah, Gedela, Alidei, the Zrika, and Alidei, the Eish, the Kedusha, or that has an Aliyah, Mamish in Madregas Gavoyas, the Kedusha. Mamish Oila had Ilum Selyonim v'chulu. Aber still there's Ayin von Etzem Makom. What that's a Gvur is Haraya B'der Peseilus Yoisa. The Etzem Mahus Inyan of Gvur is that their Inyan has already become a Gvur is Kipshuta, Gvur is Koshes. So they can still have a certain aliyah, less than what was in the other Avedas HaKorban, and some of it has to have Hoitzah El Mechutzla Lamachane with the ganze aliyah. That's Yesh Lema. That's what he means that the Eivish Ua Etzem, meaning that the Etzem Gvulis of the Behema, how they are left over, what you might call Shirayim, and they have a different Aveda, but that's Trumas Hadesha. The Ika Korban, who is Rikas Adam, that's also the Yin from Lias Noiga. In Cain, if that's the clause of Veda or the Korban is, Ma'awayefresh ben Keteres of Korban, Mayacha, the Shneihem, Mahim Biruri Anoiga. Mekiven, that with the Lafide Eit Chaim, the Keteres also Birur Anoiga, Biratoiv the Noiga, is a similar to Bir Pnimi in the Etzem Inyan for Noiga. Alafira Mayev Del Ben Zelo, it's a dova, the Lachera, the Eit Chaim is a big Chiddush. I feel believe Kushi Yazu, like what we learned earlier. It's an interesting, what you might call a slight sort of disappointment in a way. That's the whole meaning of the Keteros. Like what we've learned up till now. But since we're talking about the union of Keteros of Dova Miyuchad, the Rebbe says, L'chayra, if Lafise was, it's Maila Lagavi Korban. Via Dua. So you might say, well, maybe they don't have a great deal of difference between them. Al-Chopani B'Seida HaYom Yom. Via Dua, the Keteros Kavoya Yeshamer Korban. It's well known that the Keteros is higher than the Korban. So that's really the Ika building of the Kashya. Ukerisha b'zoya svapasha v'yakel daf yutes omid ale. It's really kedai to take a look at it. It's really quite interesting, mind-boggling. Brings over there all the Givaldi Gemailas in the Keteras. Wherever there's Keteras, the Sitra Achad just can't get in there. Just can't even approach. And wherever you really, the Keteras flowing, then all the Sitra Achad, all the Koyachas, there's a heap of Chachayim, Chaysim, all of this fall away, and Shaykhas, and break to Tarayef, and Van Aaron, that when he went amongst the all people were falling in the what's it called in the epidemic, in the terrible plague, that was happening. So we see that those who benefit from the Keteros, they were saved, and that he put them into Ayin for Chaim, v'chuli. So Rebbe says the Zohar Kodesh, where is Ayin from Keteros? And therefore he says you have to say it twice a day, and you have to say it before davening, the ganze Richa, the whole Richa, the unbelievable Maila, the Indian from Keteros, that Tafki through that, because Hasoras, how uniqueness and all sorts of, once you put Keteros there, and you got the Keteros, Kulam Neuflim, over Belashenas, Nailim B'Yoysa. And then he goes on to say this little part. And the Rebbe brings this part now. He says, Tiksiv Keteros Tomid. It's written that the Keteros was always Tomid Lifnei Hashem. So it's written, Ihu Kaima Lifnei Hashem Yeter Mikol Pulchonin Achrinon. That it's always there in front of the Eibishter, more than all other forms of Aveda. Pulchonin, the word Pulchon means Aveda, and that's the Diuk Tomid Lifnei Hashem. We don't find out about the Kabbalah, we find Oilas Tomid. We do find the Oilas Tomid, but here he says Keteros Tomid Lifnei Hashem Elokechem. So the Zohar Kodesh obviously finds some nuance in that Lashon Tomid, which indicates that it's more present. It's got a certain constant ability to express itself in front of the Eibishter more than all other Pulchanim. Chaviva ihu that the Keteros, great and loved, or how do you call it, affections by the Eibishter, is the act of the Ketera, Uda the Keteras. Yafal Gav, here's an interesting part. It says, even though the Tzloisa Iyu Mailis Michulu, even though prayer, tefillah, is got a maila like all the Avedas in the Mishkan, tefillah, it's got a maila. He said, Uda the Keteras hu Yakiv v'chaviv kami kutchablichu. He said, nonetheless, the Uda, the Keteras, is Yakir v'chaviv kami kutchablichu, implying even more than the Indian of tefillah. In other words, tefillah is Taki got a maila, and like the Alter Rebbe must be in the Kuteter, the famous man in Pasuk, because what the Alter Rebbe Maxia did in the Kushir, why we need the Beis Hamikdash back, and we want the Korbanos back, and the tefillah is Yoisanayla Mikol HaKorbanos, because tefillah you can say any old time, you can daven even in Zman Shein Beis Hamikdash Kayim, Ayin Tum Vatara, Commercial Tori, with the ganze Ariches, and tefillah is in you from Shvichas HaNefesh, and you from the Beikis and the Shomer Chayim, the Meshalyenim, it brings it L'chera. Tefillah is higher than all the inyanim that were there in the Beis Hamikdash. Why do we always say, no, we have to have mitzvahs, Ritzeinecha, that should be dafkid the way you really wanted? What was that in the Korbanos dafkid? The alternative effect of the Kasha. Amira is married in the whole inyan of the Alter Rebbe, the Tzok Koso. I mean, this is the Teret. I mean, how could I be married in a Kasha without telling me what the Teret is? But I mean, if I can get away with it, then I'll do it. Over there, he said, was it the Teret? The Ein Chanami, Mitzad Etzem HaMaila Shebo, Mitzad the Ruchnias, and Afila the Bira and the Nefesh HaPa'ami Shebo, then the Yin from Tefillah is Ein Chanami. The Tefillah is higher than the Tefillah is higher than the Korbanos being in there. Over the Yin from the Korbanos is the Bira B'Teicha Eilam. In other words, the Dafki B'Eilam HaGashmi. There were Bahim HaGashmis on a Mizbeh Gashmi, and dort in Nimshikwan Elakus Pagoloi in the Eishal Maila, the Ari, the Atul Kobonin, or the Maila is according to Moshe Rabbeinu, is in one Ari, he wants to add some meaning from Eish, Shalamaila, V'chulu, with the Gamsa Ariches, that in the Oilam HaGashmi we saw the Nisim to medium, and Lamaila min Nisim, the Kila Kus, or that's the ultimate Shleimas of Leosi, that in the Oilam HaGashmi will be the Kilo, so Elakus, how it is Lagamri Lamaila Mia Oilam, and therefore we want Dafkid the Inu from the Beis Hamikdash and Dafkid the Inu from the Korbanos, despite the fact that we have this tremendous Maila Bavedus Atfila. So that's one of the Inyonim that we say today, which Ein Chanami. We got Milas, we have Inyonim, and that, but it's Afu became Golos, and it's not what you yourself want. You yourself want. There should be a Mikdash Kashmir with the Behemoths, Kashmir with the Mizbeah, Kashmir, and in them should be Mizkala, the Elikus Begolui, and even from Eine Bosso, Afke, the fleshly eye should be able to see it. You have Esh Peiches Nafshi, I'll call Bossa Dafke. That's what that's not my word. They state it in the schreibt der Alter Rebbe Mafurish in Pasha Pinchot. That's what the Rebbe says. Sof, it's mashma that the Indian from Tefillah has a tremendous mile of Mikulu. I mean, if we just talk about the Etzem mile of Zeh, Gabi Zeh, it's Shloisha miles Mikulu. The Indian from Davni's got certain miles. Of Afu Piken, it's not the ultimate Tachlis, but Indian Zeh, the Zohar just says that Tefillah is a gewaltige hoge Madrige. Afu Piken is the Indian from the Keteras is Chavive Iu the Keteras. The Maise, HaKeteras, and Ulai Zekam Aremas, that the Indian from Keteras kommt Davki B'Maise, and Davki Binyonim what they're doing, as well known. Some money Keteras are being cut off from their trees and from their bushes and from the guns you do is, therefore, even though they grew and they were so mad, now they're doing it. And that's Davki the Indian of Bira Hakin Eilis. The Afogab, the Shloisa, Iu Mailis Mikud, that's a Shloisa Askinu Law Ba'asad the Korboni. So to try and develop the Maila, the Keteras, even over the highest in which is Davni. He said because in that reference, then Tzloisa was mutkan alidei al-Seides in place of the Kurbanin, ba'asa the Kurbanin, as one on the Gemara brings over there, at least according to one shitta, that the Tfilas Keneged Kurbanis tikno. The Havu Avdei, I'm sorry, the Tzloisa the Askinulo ba'asa the Kurbanin, the Havu Avdei Yisrael. He said that's in place of the korbanis that the Yidden used to make. The whole inen korbanin chulu, lav inen chashuvin kikteres. He said all the korbanin, the chulu with a etc. All the pratim they can find in the korbanis, and in the avodah from Yidden in the korbanis are not chashuv like the inen of the ketayr. How they state that in the Zayah, and it's marish in the whole haflor. The girdle mile of ketayros. Like we said at the beginning, Torskov and Pashtas, and then it gets onto that comparison between ketayros with Inyan Atfila. Auch upon him from them days that the ketayros have got a mile, harei, she ketayros hila mile me'akorban. And that was the mile in the ketayros, even though the Inyan from Tfila, Kosok, we know it's Mila, but it was Mutukan Neged the Korbanis in from Tefillah. So now the Rabbi Yasva, Gam the Ketayros, Gam Kenin, at Tefillah we find, as well known, the famous Pasuk in Tehillim that compares davening also to Ketayros. Akamesh Kosov, Tichain, Filosi, Ketayros, Lifonecha, Masas, Kapoi, Minchas, Orev. As I state there, Pasuk, that you should establish my davening in a form of ketayros, not even with a kofa dimion, no ketayros. It should be like the ketayros lefonecha. In Melkom, he said that the pasuk in Tehillim says that tefillah and the ketayros are mamish oishayin. So how do we say no? The ketayros is incomparably higher than the infant tefillah. So this is a famous answer of that. Hine zero neged tefillah samincha. That is written in the Yerushalmi. So Yerushalmi. And put down in certain drushim in Siddur, that pasuk which says that tefillah is ketayros, that stuff ketfilas hamincha. So therefore he said, "Zeh neged tefillas hamincha." Okay, Moshe Kosev achachach masas chapoi minchas oreh. It's written in the pasuk itself. Yeah, the lifting up of my hands. What does the inyan you do? Tefillah is called the inyan masas kapayim, the inyan nasiyah. The elevation of the hand with the inyan amidas v'chulu. So he said, Masas Chapayim Minchas Orev. Mincha, which approaches the evening, what that's a tefillah hamincha. Alamela said, the Rebbe, that's only up to kasha. Because you do a tefillah mincha l'mayla mit tefillah hashachris. The inyan from mincha's got a very remarkable mile to it. Me'al le'inyan shachris. And that's what it's written. That ketayros is higher than the inyan tefillah. It means like every tefillah shachris. Over there's a certain inyan in tefillah which ain't hanami. It's got the mile of ketayros, and it's harbi la mile mishari inyone tefillah, but that's the inyan for mincha. Okamayim razal ve'olam yehei odom zo yir tefillah samincha. But you come on and say the brachas and Daf Ayin on the Beis. It's written over there that a man should always be zoeh betfilas hamincha, shekein Eliyahu lo inena ela betfilas hamincha. Because we find that Eliyahu was only answered by tfilas hamincha. And as we stated, vayi balei hamincha, vayi gash Eliyahu, vayima aneni Hashema aneni. Yeah, the Gemara Taitzot was the tribe Pamim aneni was Avok upon him, and immediately the Eish Yored Merashamayim and also was a Korbanin. So we see that with Dafki B'Tfilas Hamincha, Dafki B'Eish Hamincha, that Eliyahu was answered. As I saw the famous Shiloh with the Siddur and many places, even the Mufoshi HaGemara, they asked the Shiloh, what's the Raf in Eliyahu Hanovi? And Eliyahu Hanovi, who can possibly compare it? Eliyahu Hanovi, he was answered, B'Zman Tfilas Hamincha. It was the fact that he was Eliyahu Hanovi. In other words, he would have been answered even if he had done that first thing in the morning. He probably would also be answered, even if it would have been Tfilas HaShachris. But it was Eliyahu Hanovi with his answer Mesilas Nefesh. It just so happened that he let him have half of the day to try all their narishim. houses, and then he came in with the Gila had his Mitzad Elikus, and so it came out of Mincha, but it was the ganze Poyo from the Mincha was Eliyahu. I know you, but what's in the right in the Gemara? The Shekain Loinena Eliyahu El Betfilas Amincha Lechayr doesn't Mitzad the Mile of Eliyahu. It's Mitzad the Mile of Betfilas Amincha. And for the considered pink fakir, you don't understand the puzzle. What the puzzle means to say, Beis that was the whole thing happened, and it had to happen. Dav keep his man there, because that was the mile, not the mile of an Eliyahu. It was the mile of Tfilas Amincha Davke. In other words, that these Gabras are clippers and the Kitrugim and the masses, what they were, but Isha Haregya was so high that if not the Koyah for Tfilas Amincha, even Eliyahu wouldn't have had. He wouldn't have had what you call a chance. He wouldn't have been able to. Even Eliyahu. But the Gemara learns that the whole thing is mitzad the koyach of tefillas amincha, not mitzad the mile. That's what it says. Shekain loina Eliyahu with all of his miles, ela b'tefillas amincha. The raya stuff you for tefillas amincha. So it's a famous beer, and it says Ben Get. Im kein. Wie zij komt, is de alles who's man eis rotzen be yeser uke door. Dat is man amincha. It's a tremendous eis rotzen. Der Hager was brought down, but that's later the Rebbe is going to mention it. That's also a shaykh to the union of the Keteras. That we see that Davki and Tfilas Amincha is the Ike Bureau of the Makivim, the Clippers is brought down. Mitzad the Goydel ha eis rotzen. Once again, that Eis Rotzen has a certain union to do with the Odom. That Eis Rotzen is Puyo in the Odom, also union with the Odom reacts to the Eis Rotzen. He's Magbiyah. Esachmei Likras Eis Rotzen there, but it's well known that the union from Tfilas Amincha is usually in the Zman of the Tirlis Odom and the Daki when Olam Zeh is still flowing with its ganzen Shetef. My Rabbi, what they're going to do is, in Afro became the Mensch is Korea, etc. That's the Russian written in the Drushim. Korea, Esachmei, Mikol Inyonim, V'oimut B'tfila Lifnei Hashem. Well, that's the Indian from Eis Rotzen. Once again, the Shari is, see the Eis Rotzen, Kuk Mitzad the Mensch, see the Eis Rotzen is Blavach an Eis Rotzen. So we have to say that the Shnei Himemes, that it is a gewaltige Eis Rotzen, but Kedei to cash in on that Eis Rotzen, then you have to act also in even Eis, you have an Eis, Rotzen. So Einach Hanami Eliyahu also acted in an even von Eis Rotzen. He also acted by Mesilas Nefesh, by even Shayin Kamoyo. But not that it was just him that had gemacht the ganze thing. That was the mile of the Eis Rotzen to the Amincha. And if a little bit, you might say, both of them have a role. The Ike role is the Mitzad Tfilas Amincha. But in the Chanami, you have to raise up to that tremendous Eis Rotzen. Lefi Hadrishes Beis Hazman. What that is, you got to leave all your Inyanim behind in a form of Mesilas Nefesh and be mishtapech or chechavai. What they come to, then it was brengtig in Drushei Chassidus benegir to that whole Inyan. Therefore, said the Rebbe, Eis Rotzen b'Yeser v'im Kain Tzarik Lovin Ma'u Everest Bein HaKeteres L'Korban. Is him to understand what is the Hevdel Bein Beineihem. And if so calls off the Inyan from the Bureau at the Keteres is the Inyan from Noiga, then why is it that the Kodesh is so mafli, the whole Inyan of the Keteres, and says that it's Choviv Yate Mikol HaKor, Mikol HaKorbanis, because that's what remains. And even though it's connected with one of the tefillahs, but it's connected with a tremendous Eis Rotzen Dika tefillah, which indicates that it's and that's why that's why that particular tefillah is given the name Keteres. So that particular tefillah is indicatory of what you might call a Yitziras Koyach Eliyah Niflo Bein Mitzad Nomato Bein Mitzad Nomaila. Therefore, it's connected to the Inyan Keteres. Ovel Lefi Yamavu and Eitz Chaim Komtes L'Chora Kosher Lahavin. Was it this big boom and this big rash when I get to the Inyan Keteres? If it's all Inyan, is Biro Hanoiga similar to the Korbanis, a Ma'u Hevdel Bein Zelo Zeh. Achar Inyan Hu, the Hina is the Rebbe, Ayin b'zeh hine akrovas akorbanos hoya al mizbeach hachitzon. What is it we're going to do now? That the korbanos der akrova was davke on the mizbeach, how it was in the azora michutz laheichal, the mizbeach hachitzon. Ve'ilu haktoras haktoras al mizbeach hapnimi v'adarabah. It's well known, the Goydel Ayin, or the Posik at the end of Pashat Tetzaveh says that Oilova Neset Loi Sischu Olo, you can't possibly bring any korban on the Mizbeach HaPnimi. The Mizbeach HaPnimi is Cholila beyond the whole Indian of Korbanis. No, it's Be'ikah only for this Indian of Keteras Bifnim B'Teicha Heichal. V'yadua, the Beis HaMizbechos, or Beis HaMizbechos, B'nefesh, Ayin b'bchinas Chitzonius Alev, Upnimius Alev. It's well known that the Mizbech HaChitzon, or that's connected, the Aveda of the Odom, b'bchinas Chitzonius Alev. The Ayin, with those inyonim, as we'll see, that they come inside the Koiches Pnimiyim, and mitzad the Moichin, and Mislavish in the Midas, and Mavara the Midas, Megala the Midas, and how the Odom Mizbeinen and Elakus are shy to the Eilamas. Mamela, his koiches pnimium can be, in other words, that the Mizbeach HaChitzon is the koich given to the Odom to be Mavara in Yoni, HaNefesh HaPamiyas, V'chelchel Be'olam V'chulu, Alidei Ayinyonim Anitonim Bekiruv Elo. In other words, that he can be Masigam, Lefi koiches הפנים שניתנו לו בחיים. דהיינו, מויכין, מידס, שוב הדיברו, ומייסה, that's the Indian from the Aveda, בבחינס חיצוניוס הלב, ואילו פנימיוס הלב. That's a much higher madrega, that's the Indian from עצם הנפש, from the iskashus, עצמיus in אלוקוס למעלה מטעם בו, ודאס וכולו. That's the difference. Ever mele nimmt if he's korbanis is shy to ava al pitan vadas eish dot in van ava, particularly how it is not even van ava kirish by eish. That's shy to the union of the Odom and his koichais. Had a boim bechitzonius in yonam. I know the mavara the koichas apnimim eish mislapshim beivorim. That's the union of the Mizbeach HaChitzon. So he says. The Chitzonius Alev who are shall pitam vo das. Evainu ashabo alidei asoge vizbonen aselki. It also comes through dafke through asoge and dafke through his boneness and divine is boneness. It says boneness eloki. That means to say with his boneness in elokus alidei the koach the nefesh elokis. To be teifes in yonim elu and mamela to be mavidim and masvidim to the nefesh habahamiyas. Of a sokosov, we have to say that even in the aveda of the nefesh elokis pozeh, it's already in a zolcha in yonim which have come bekiruv to the islapshus and how the nefesh elokis is be islapshus or bekiruv to the koiches of the odom. It's at the yonim pnimin shaboy. That's what he said. The klolos in asoga hu ba'oyer eloki shebo. It comes to the Odom bibchinas islapshus bo'elamas because its Indian is davke islapshus in the etem Indian of the Nivroim. Therefore, since it's be islapshus entrance into the clay mugbal fi clay ha'elamas, therefore it's bekirav ela'od that he can be misbeinen b'zeh and have a asoga. What asoga indicates grasp and appreciation. It's a kilo azam in sort oyer eloki, which is bo bekiro v'elav. Therefore, it's called islapshus bo element. And we see that it's based on a whole principle that the Gemara brings in Masechta Brachos over there, not far from the Gemara we bought just before in Daf Yud. That the Gemara says over there, the ma nishomer. Mamala yesa guf, kacha kodesh baruch hu mamala yesa ho'ilon. In other words, that the Gemara gives a formula and a principle to the Odom al smach ma hu yuchal li la'amoi al isbonon In other words, that he should be able to be oiler and toifus in yone elakus eishaim bekiru elav eishaim kroivim el peichaisov, because he said, pick the zivi, you can understand the whole relationship of your koiches, one the other, the mile zel gabizev, the even of his slapshusam of pulosa, but even because you can also have a hisbonenus and elakus. In other words, you can literally mi besori echza elakah, and that's exactly what he's going to say now. But that's the emerson principle, that posik in Yoim, mi besori echza elakah, that from where I see the koiches of the nefesh in the bossa, in the clay, how I bought him, and how the bekiruv ela adam, and the way his observation can be teifasam, or that's the way elakus also comes by ilamas. Mitzad the tzimtzumim and the Yeridas, how elakus is bislabshe. I'm never pink to say we can have a yediyah and a careful, systematic hasoga in his own zich, but I get to the chayis, pink to say he can have a hasoga and a tvisa in the in and out is, but I get to elakus bislabshes, but techo elam. Das the pshat mi psore extra elakah. I know Shabo Ali de Asoga is bonus of the Klolas in and Asoga, who by a Kish above his love, the man is Shoma, Mamalis are goof Kaka Korshpoch, Mamalis are Ilum Vial Cain, and because of that, that's a Russian Al Cain is the Pshat Defar, Mibsore Exze Elokar. I can from my flesh, not meaning from the Etzim Bossa, so from the Yichud of the Neshama with the Bossa. Those are the Pshat. The way the Bossa is a Kli to the Neshama. Mibsori echze elka. That's well known that echze is a targum motion for re'iyah. So it doesn't mean re'iyah chushi as mami, but it means you can come to such a clarity of understanding if you only observe it properly that it's clear that you can see it. And therefore, it's written in a targum motion. It doesn't mean that you actually see it like you see but on the other hand, it's more, if you examine it carefully, it's more called a form of seeing than it is a pure understanding. And that was a chiddush what Eev was mashmiya, that he said mibsori, from the ufen at the neshama benegir to its clay, hislapsis in the goof. You can have in that an appreciation which is echzeh. You can look at the world in exactly the same way, and you can have that same echzeh in the elakus, which is bo beis bislapshus or bekira betoicha nivroya. That's it. Okay, my shahada masigo magish biatzmei beavachas and efishaloi biachoiches protim shabo. Okay, my bekoach haseichel shabo moyef came koach hamidah shabalev. Achayas chitzayni shebayvarim achitzaynim k'may koach hatnua shebiyon koach hiluk sheyodea umasig heitev kol koach v'koach bi'ercha erchoi u'ma'alosei be'etzem. In other words, that you are able to study your koiches, even the koiches highly masiv seichel, and you can study them carefully, and you can see the milas be'etzem mahusom. You can see what is the mahus in you from seichel, and you can appreciate what is the mila miyuchedes b'seichel. And you look at Midas, and you can see what is the mila, the brocha miyuchedes, what the Eibishter was mashkia in koiches, called Midas, and what is their inyan, and mamela alidei, what you understand their mila, so then you also understand ma pulosim v'inyonim. Being miles there, what is the whole emerson function of midas, and what are they supposed to achieve? And then you can see later on, we'll see that you can see their relative mileage. You can see how the mile from Moich and Legavi the mile. Once you've appreciated the mile BMS of the midas and the mahusinian of the midas, and you've appreciated the mahusinian of seichel, then you have the right to compare them and to see how the certain mile is in the seichel compared to midas. And Ma'atayim that you bring that seichel into the midas, and the seichels are mezayin taki and give its unbelievable mile into the miles on midas, and then the midas will give it further into under inyonim. So what the Rebbe is about to say, a piece of there, is a very amazing thing. He said, I'll tell you what, you study those inyonim, you study you never, you study and you think about it carefully, the different relations of the koiches and their milas, one and gabi the other, well, that elevates you, and that makes you, it gives you a gewaldige chushin in ruchnias, and it gives you chayes in your own self. You don't understand what you really got, and what you have, and what you can do, and what is the mila of the koiches, and then you have a tremendous chayes in comparing that to the elikus and the elikus. In other words, you can't just still say, oh yes, elikus. First of all, they do what you appreciate yourself. Then you get a chayes you can do. Stay to us as we go along. And that's a shot mibsori. Yeah, Eo said mibsori echse. What elaka? Oh, first of all, I have to see mibsori. First of all, I have to study what's mibsori. Not here. I can come to the Ayin from elaka, and that whole activity gives you an amazing chus in ruchnis and elikus. Right. It's for obvious things, but when you hear them put that way, you get a whole new, a whole new view of it. That's what the Rebbe said, that, I don't know, that's exactly what the Inim Berachel Fanim Yesh Leva, but Efshe. But the Tzachas, that the Beis Shvat begins a whole new Tekufa. It's a new, it's the Indian of Kof Aleph, very good, Yud Aleph should be Yud Aleph, in other words, Kof Beis is Zweimal Yud. Well, it's in the Dvar Malchus, the whole thing. The Rebbe says that huge Shvat was the Yud, and then there was Yud Aleph. The mile of a Yud Aleph, the Gabi Yud, from Keser, and then Kof Beis Shvat is Parmayim Yud Aleph. It's a new Yud Aleph, a whole new Tekufa, and a whole new Inyan, v'chuli. Remember, the Ayin Beis wills to see these new things, even though it's Harikot Dvarim. You do him at Tzleiner, Dvarim, She'af Pam Lo Yodanu V'Lo Shamanu. When you read it that way, then they say a whole new era. But if you only just study yourself carefully and you have a bit of a yigia in your own ruchnias, well, that opens up to you the whole thing of another course. As they state that.
There is something is Mushka.
Amen.
Mushka, the name Mushka.
Yeah, Mushka, yeah, there's all in from the Rambam. Yeah, the Rambam says it's all in from the Rambam, he writes over there, it's kosher, it can be, not it's kosher, but you can be mavar, we say it in Rambam. There's a whole piece in Torah, in the Drushim Megillah Esther. The Alter Rebbe talks about that, this day as a hin, day as a hair. And the Rambam also that was a Chaya Tmeya, but it was Nikshar early day. It's nonetheless was called in Kedusha. A whole Arifas Adroim, let's say. That was the name of the Rebbe, and she indicated that Yishafkos, from a door of duty Torah into the highest form, which actually in the Torah is the highest form of against it. And that's the union of what we're going to see here. Ultimately, the latest Torah is going to be the highest of all the Inyanim. Kipshute. But just at the moment, it's all like building up the whole kasha. For the best, we're going to get into what you might call the Ilu of the Keteiras. Along the way, we're going to learn all sorts of amazing about our Beis Hashem. So, look, it should be a good Kof Beis Shvat with all the Inyanim. Hashem should give us koyach, so we should be able to find the new tekufa, be part of it, live in it, and get part of this whole tenable, shugina, dollars, and jump and spring and dance immediately into the scholars of Melech HaMashiach. Take from me out, mamish. You have to forgive me. I got to meet somebody in my room, so. Yeshia Melech HaMashiach. Good. I don't know, whenever I learn a piece of Ayin Beis, I always feel it. It's like a new door is opened up. It's always something. I've said it on many occasions in these classes. It's like a zavit, it's like another way, another angle. Always is like a new angle. Friedrich Rebbe said that Ayin Beis is an under a knip. He said it's an under a knip. another click. They state in the introduction to it, they do all the secret but all right, good guys.
Yeah.
Okay, have a good day. Have a good handshake. Bye.
Yeah.